Wombat Jones for Ramen Chokehold here with a very, very special guest to me because he's one of the only other guys going around Australia on the local scene reporting on it. And I'm here with my man Wayne Cole from Wayne Cole MMA and nickportello.com. Mate, how you doing?
Good, mate. Yourself? Good evening. You're looking well?
Mate, I promise you I'm probably not because I'm hungover as after the Broncos got down yesterday. But, mate, we won't talk about that. But, mate, I've got you on the line, especially because, while I was up there at Coastal Combat on the weekend, you were down south in Melbourne for HEX 16, mate. And also, we've got to talk about UFC. How was your weekend?
Weekend was good, mate. So started with HEX on Saturday night. Got home, did a recap, and then got up and watched the UFC. So it was fantastic, mate. And I think we got to start with Darren Till versus Tyrone Woodley, mate. I think we need to touch on that straight up because big talking point in UFC. So what were your thoughts, mate? What were your thoughts on Darren Till?
Well, my thoughts on Darren Till was I think he took the gas a little bit. I think the occasion must have got to him because I think officially the stats were he was 0-6 on strikes landed, and when we're talking about sort of 6 minutes of action, this is never how I've seen him fight. Having said that, I think maybe once he got in there and he noticed that Woodley wasn't afraid to throw down and was basically controlling the octagon, where even though Till was moving forward, I still felt that Woodley was sort of having him where he wanted him. So what do you think of it, mate? Like, is there any other thing that you can think of that can sort of...
Yeah, it's amazing because the first thing that I say is, what about Darren Till? Yeah, we don't talk about Woodley first, because he doesn't get the respect he deserves. The way that he fainted through that right hand and then ground and pound, I actually had him for a second round KO. So I was on my feet saying, knock him out, because I had a bit of coin on it. And then he sunk in that Darce choke, which, yeah, most people would have got out of, but I don't think Darren Till knew where he was. I think he was overawed. And he did say in an interview afterwards that he probably took it too easy. And once he got in there, I think the bright lights got him. And, yeah, and still.
And not only that, but now Woodley's kind of laying claim to being one of the greatest welterweights we've ever seen. I mean, people sort of put shit on him for his last couple of performances, which because they've got basically no idea about MMA. But the fight before that was literally nearly the fight of the year with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in their first fight. He's taken out a who's who now of absolute killers from the welterweights, from gone past and now in the future with like Darren Till. Man, I was so impressed. I won some money on it myself. Thanks so much, Matt Walton. Easy money. And, mate, I just, there's a few other things on the card as well, like Jessica Andrade versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz, mate. Did you see that one?
Wow, 115 pounds knockout. Didn't think I'd ever see that, but she throws bombs.
Oh yeah, not only does she throw bombs, but like I was saying to you before, I don't think I've ever seen in a women's MMA fight, and this includes all the way up to 145, someone getting flatlined that with one punch. I've seen it with kicks before. Obviously, Rousey comes to mind with that, but just with a single solitary punch. And it was gone. It was lights out. And I think I was actually even saying before the fight that I've never seen that. So, mate, super, super impressive. What other fights sort of piqued your interest?
Suarez for me. Dominant performance. She was in there with the Cookie Monster, who is a top 10. Used to be, the title holder. And I think she got completely dominated by somebody that I think could really challenge Rose.
Yeah, it was an amazing performance from her. Absolute domination, like you said, and she's been looking good now, like really, really good. So I wouldn't mind seeing her up for the title next, to be honest. I'm not sure how that's all playing out at the moment because I'm too much into local MMA and how the division's structured there. But, mate, I've got a funny feeling she'll run over Rose.
Yeah, it'd be a good fight. I thought Rose was going to get beat by JJ, so I'll never count out Thug Rose. So, yeah, she's one of my favourites. the way that she changed up her game plan to beat Rose, I'd never count her out. And I'm sure she's got a really good team with her, so I'm pretty sure they'd work it. I don't think she'd get in a grappling contest. I think she'd keep her distance, and her movement against JJ was elite.
And just to finish off UFC, quick recap, I'm just going to have to look down here. We had Diego Sanchez getting his first win, I believe, in what was a fairly long time.
About 100 years.
About 100 years, yes,
Yeah.
give or take a few, but yeah, it was a very long time, mate. So good on him. And here's a little fun fact about Wombat. He was my very first favorite fighter. You know, like I started watching MMA back when the Ultimate Fighter started on TV in Australia. I think it was 03 or 04, can't remember. Yep. And I just love that kid. Like and not only that, he still wants to win the title, which, you know, I don't know if he's bananas or he's exactly what you should do. You know what I mean? Like you can't tell with that guy, but I love him. I can't get enough of Diego. So well done, Diego. What else we had? We had Jim Miller. Jim Miller, 30 appearances in the UFC. That is off the chain. I have no idea how you can survive 30 appearances in the UFC. Not only that, but he's fought an absolute who's who, hasn't he, mate?
And dominated, pretty much hit that kid across the ring. And you know what? I was high on White, so I didn't tip that to happen. But geez, I was happy when it did, because good guys like Jim Miller deserve some wins late in their career.
Yeah, and I mean, the only other two that I guess we can touch on is the two knee bars. It was incredible. I think it only ever happened once in the UFC before that, and then two in one night, which is absolutely off the chain. Both from similar camps too. I think Zabit's under Almeida, and Aljo's obviously under Serra. So they're obviously from the lineage of Renzo Gracie. So, mate, it was just an amazing sort of finish to my weekend, so to speak. I don't know about you, but I was loving it.
What was your favourite? Was it the Zambit one?
Actually, no, I think it was the Aljo one, because Zabit pretty much did whatever he wanted in that fight. As where Aljo, you know, it was a scrap for a little bit, and then it sort of come out of nowhere. And you know, like I think I saw the Tommy Toehold show today, and did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, where he was like, I did it first. Stop copying me. It was fucking hilarious. But,
the way he pulled his knee sideways, though, I felt that from my living room. When he pulled his knee sideways and leant across it, how many times have you seen someone in a backpack like that not grab the leg and just slip off? So I reckon you're going to see that knee bar very often. I reckon, you know, it's only happened once in the history. It happened twice in the same fight card. I reckon people have picked up that when you're that high, you don't need to just drop off. You just curl up underneath.
And there, you know what? You bring up a very good point, because the first thing that just sprung to mind as you were saying that was low calf kicks. Like before we saw, I can't remember the fight it was in or who made it popular, but no one had really seen too much of that like a year ago. All of a sudden now, everyone's throwing low calf kicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, mate, but
even at HEX, they were throwing low calf kicks, mate, but we'll get into that.
Well, this is exactly what we're going to move on to. So cheers, UFC 228. But, mate, I got you mainly on here for HEX 16. You were down there. You were cage side. You were writing your notes. So if no one's seen your breakdown yet, they can jump onto nickportella.com and check out the breakdown, where you basically do like between 10 and 15 significant points in the round. That's how you do your thing, isn't it, mate?
Correct. Instead of play-by-play, I pretty much just look at what a ref would see as significant moments in each round. So sometimes that could be 3 or 4, but I cap it around 10, because you don't want to sit there. My recap's really about, if you haven't seen it, that you feel like you've actually watched the fight and that I've picked up anything significant that's actually happened. So I pretty much have done HEX 3 times, AFC, DFC, and I'm heading up to Matt's XFC, which I can't wait for in November. I think it's November 1st or 2nd.
Yes, November 2nd, mate. It's a Friday night. I can't wait to see you up there. And it's really good that you're going to come up, because obviously I commentate for XFC now, so it's very hard for me to put out the content on the night, but you're going to be all over that. So it's a little bit different, isn't it, mate, with the media, like with me and you. We love sharing each other's stuff and that. So if you haven't checked out a Wayne Cole breakdown yet, I love it, because I go on there and, like you said, it's actually very much like you read it and you feel like you've watched the fight. So yeah, so mate, let's talk about it then. We obviously got to start at the top. My man Nathan Reddy, the Vanilla Gorilla. I mean, it was a highlight reel head kick knockout. There's nothing else to say about it than that. If you haven't seen a clip of that, I believe Hex has got it up now on their Facebook page. But talk me through the fight, mate.
Right. Well, it started, and Singh come out swinging from the fences. He pretty much was throwing everything in, and he actually clocked Reddy pretty good. And he just, as Reddy said after the fight, that pretty much moved him in to the headspace he needed to be. He set it up with some good hands, and then the head kick from Hell, mate. And as soon as he actually hit him, he was out before he hit the ground. So, mate, Nathan Reddy is UFC bound. I think that if he gets a late call up, that's his chance. I know he's 36, 36-ish, but if the UFC need a late call up, he would be absolutely perfect, mate, because he's only had one loss.
And that one loss is the Jimmy the Brute crew.
Yeah, 6-0 amateur, 6-1 professional, and he showed his class at Hex. And you know what? I did a Q&A with him. You couldn't ask for a nicer bloke as well.
Congratulations again, mate. What else is happening on that card?
So fight of the night for me, Joel Kendrick versus Sam Haywood. You're looking at a tall, lanky striker versus, a submission specialist. Mate, 3 rounds, 2 dash chokes locked in. Kendrick being able to get out in round 2 and round 3 quickly shows he's got a great coach. Shout out to Simon. But that was, if you haven't seen it, buy the link, because that fight alone is worth the pay-per-view, because that was one of the best fights I've seen in the local, whether it be DFC, whether it be AFC or Hex. That was one of the best quality fights that I've seen on the regional scene.
And I'll definitely be grabbing that replay, because I've been traveling. I just got home actually from up there in Queensland, so I'll be catching that tomorrow. And Joel is, I'm not sure if anyone knows or not, but he's one of my commentary partners for UFN, Suman's promotion there in Sydney. So the Mantas, congratulations, my man. He's now, I believe, 7-1.
7-1-1, I believe. Now.
That's right, yeah, 7-1-1, and he's the UFN champion. Now he's making waves in Hex, so keep your eyes peeled on him. What other performances stuck out? I know there's one that you're going to bring up.
Georgie's.
That's the one.
Mate, he talks the talk, walks the walk. He said to me before the fight, straight right, good night, mark my words. And if you read my recap at nickpatelamma.com, it was a straight right, good night. Mate, the kid is special. Look out for him. And as you've got a favourite regional fighter, I'll say it right now, Alex Georgie's Hitman is my favourite.
Oh, bang, there you go. Oh, the Hitman, mate. No, and that's not a bad fighter to pick for your favourite local fighter, because, like you said, it's just a little bit of a pity that we can't get enough matchups for him. I think that's his first fight in over a year. He's had so many opponents pull out on him. So hopefully now we can, see him get matched up, a little bit more consistently. So hopefully the promoters out there definitely want him on the card after that performance. So, and shout out also to Jai Bradney, because you can't have that sort of a performance without a dancing partner, can you, mate?
Jai was amazing. He come to fight. He was throwing it. He was dancing in front of him. He was getting in his head. A lot of respect between those two guys, because Alex had been watching Jai since he was 12 years old. So to get in with someone that really respects, that's had over 30 fights, and to be able to take him out in round 1 was amazing. Somebody else I want to actually shout out to is Ricky Camp as well, too slick. Amazing submission. Scott McGregor, you look at him and you think, okay, he was 4-5, overmatched. He's a tough guy, and Too Slick made it look easy. So that submission as well was fantastic. Shout out to Greg Hearn as well. We met him at DFC. Mate, I've never seen a bloke throw as hard as he did. And tough kid Ricky from Melton was able to pull out a win. I had it a draw. And talking to the boys afterwards, they were a little bit disappointed with it. Not disappointed with, the loss, but they actually looked at it and said, he performed really well. And, mate, did they put on a show, the big boys. And literally you could hear them moving around the cage, so you know how much and how hard these boys were actually throwing. So, mate, it was a great night of fights. There was a couple others that I wanted to actually, ready for me. If we were given performance bonuses, well, he was going to get knocked out of the night. So Wombat, Coastal Combat 4, first time you've been there, mate. Tell me about it.
Well, mate, it for me, it's really impressive. I mean, we're talking about up on the Sunshine Coast. You know, it's not a massive populated city or anything like, you know, Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane, or, you know, we're talking a couple of hours north of Brisbane. And I've got to say, Joel Zepasvari, the promoter there, done an amazing job. It's a nice little venue. You can probably slam about 400 people in there, and they pretty much did. I didn't see too many empty seats, and it's a little bit of a different feeling to it because it is smaller, but it's all seated. You know, there's a little bit of a general admission sort of section at the back, but the majority of the places that you get in there are all on seats, and it's tiny, and it's, you know, the cages sort of, everyone's on top of them. I would call it, I actually interviewed Tyler Cully, who was in the co-main event, and he said, when I asked him about it before I went up there, I asked him, you know, what's it like? And he said, it's like a boutique MMA event. And that's just a perfect description of it. You know what I mean? So I had a ball. I had an absolute great time, a great night of fights. I can't really even think of a bad fight, which usually speaking on a card, there's at least one or two snooze fests in there. But, mate, it was pretty cool.
Mate, the main event, David Martinez versus Peter Templar, you know, both making their pro debut, 9-1-1 versus 5-0. You know, tell me about it. Was it what you expected?
Well, not really, because I thought this matchup might have been, you know, a tad closer than what it was. Basically, David Martinez went in there, and he showed why a lot of people called him the best amateur lightweight in the country. It was relentless. His top game was unbelievable. And then he figured out in the second round that now he's a pro, he's allowed to throw elbows now. So in the first round, he totally dominated. And I actually commentated that, and it was right in front of us with Anton Zafir, who's obviously an ex-UFC vet, and Daniel Maudsley. Shout out to Dan. He's a double threat. He's the ring announcer, gets out of the cage, and then comes and commentates. Absolutely unbelievable job he does. But back to the fight, mate. Martinez just very, very impressive again. There's not much more you can say about this kid. This kid is on absolute fire. And once again, like you said about Nathan Reddy, you're never going to find a nicer guy in MMA than this, mate. You will more than likely catch him up in Queensland on XFC. I hope to see him on the card. I know there's matchups being thrown around for him, but now, mate, and shout out as well to Pete. He didn't really give up. He was just totally controlled and dominated. So hopefully he will learn from this fight. Like you said, he was 5-0 as an AMI going into his pro debut. And if you catch his fights, man, he's really impressive. Like, especially off his back. He's a danger to anyone off his back, and Dave just shut all of that down. So the Smiling Assassin's coming in hot, baby. I'd definitely be looking out for him.
Yeah, when I seen the result come through, I was wrapped for David. Peter's a really good ammo as well. So obviously myself and you are looking at some rankings and things like that. But David Martinez was easily the #1 ranked ammo, I think, in Australia.
But back to Coastal, man. There was a couple of belts after that put on the line, a couple of amateur belts, which I love seeing. I don't think you really get to see that, mate, because HEX is pretty much a professional card. How much AMI fights have you actually seen?
Yeah, so AFC had about 8. So I have watched that, and I've seen a lot of the path to HEX as well. So yeah, I do see, and you know what, I really love seeing the amateurs, because you get to actually meet them before they turn pros, and hopefully some of the guys that we're talking to now and interviewing, like Alex Georges and Nathan Reddy, when they become UFC stars, they don't forget me and you.
Well, mate, I can tell you that they're not, because I've just got a glimmer of that with obviously Jimmy Crute. I've been talking to Jimmy for quite a while. You know, he's busting through the UFC, and a couple of others as well. So I can tell you, mate, it's the greatest sport in the world, that's for sure. If you want to call it a sport or fights or whatever you want to call it, it's just where I'm at. I don't even have time to watch anything else anymore. There's just so much going on, But yeah, man, Coastal Combat, great job up there, Joel Zepasvari. Shout out Bradford Cowie. He won the amateur lightweight belt that they put on the line in an amazing performance. He took out Brennan Walsh, and I think it was in the 3rd or the 4th round, but up until then, it was the fight of the night that Coastal Combat gave. I'll get to my fight of the night in a minute, but I tell you what, it was splitting hairs on what the fight of the night was, because it was an amazing fight. So Bradford Cowie, make sure you keep your eye out for him. And obviously Jack Macklin up there from Mackay MMA. He took on Tyler Cully, the Coolum Beach bad boy. And Jack got up in very, very impressive fashion there in the first round. Tyler's no joke, and he did it relatively easy. Christiane Ryder. Now, if that name maybe rings a bell, she was actually on the Australian Judo Beijing 2008 Olympic team. And let me tell you, we found out why. So just before she finished her opponent off, she landed a very, very big hip toss, and coming crashing down and hearing how much force was on her, I was like, oh, okay, I understand now, because I don't think I'd actually heard or felt a judo throw like that, and we're talking about a 56-kilo woman. So shout out to Christiane Ryder. Few others, Chantel Humberston versus Amber Glover. That was my fight of the night. That was the fourth fight of the night. Two amateur ladies throwing down absolute war. It was an absolute war. Split decision. Could have went either way. So great fight again. Brendan Veach from Mackay MMA started the night off right with a knockout of the night. They gave it, and a nice left hook with the guy coming in. But my man, if you're in the area for any reason and there's a fight show on up there, I definitely say go and check it out.
Mate, it's one I'll put on the calendar for next year. I want to get up and see a few other local guys as well. I know there's a new one in Melbourne, Power Play Cage, which I'm excited for, and that's next month. So I'm pumped for that as well. So I've been in contact with the promoters, and they're excited to have me. So maybe the Wombat could fly down to Melbourne, and we could do that together.
Mates, it sounds like a decent idea. I think, I definitely seen that, and I've just got to check my dates. But man, I love covering fights with you. And here's the great thing: like, if no one's seen Wayne, he's nothing like me. He goes and he does his writing, and he does great articles and stuff like that. I concentrate on the video. So between us both, if you want your local MMA coverage, and like you said, it's actually great to see these guys before they break onto the bigger stage, isn't it?
Definitely, mate. Just sitting there watching these guys progress. Obviously seeing, 3 HEX series. I've seen, a guy named Jordan O'Connor that I did a Q&A with. That was my first Q&A. And he won at HEX with a knockout in the first round against Wayne Cummins. And I pretty much sat there, and I've actually seen his progression as an MMA fighter, mate. And he's getting better and better every time I see him. And I reckon he's in the top 10 in Australia now. So look out for Jordan Kingpin O'Connor.
Yeah, shout out there. I believe he's from Resilience. He's down there training with Jimmy Crute and Dan Kelly, and so yeah, definitely watch out for Jordan. And mate, I'm going to give you the floor. Maybe you want to take a minute to thank some people. Obviously, your family. You know how much time this all takes. So, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, look, my wife's really supportive. Obviously, I work a lot of hours at Reese Plumbing Supplies. If no one knows who they are, they're Australia's biggest plumbing supplier. So very busy with that. I'm a regional leader there, so shout out to those guys. But first and foremost, my wife and my twin 10-year-old daughters, they love MMA as well. So it's really easy to have this passion when they'll sit and recap and watch the UFC with you as well. So, and also I shared Nick Batalla MMA, who gave me the opportunity to start writing about something that I love. Shout out to MMA Freaks, which is my platform that I help admin on Facebook. So those guys have been really supportive. And last but not least, thanks for the invite, Wombat. We met at HEX the last time. I think it was HEX 14. And most MMA outlets stay away from each other. And as you can see, myself and you got along straight away. And yeah, I think it's fantastic that we're able to help each other out. You're always helping me. I try to help you. And yeah, so I think it's going great. And yeah, thanks for having me on.
Mate, it's my pleasure, mate, and we're going to be doing this a lot more. I can guarantee that, because especially with so many cards going on in Australia, we can't all go to all of them, you know. So you're definitely going to be in my future. That's for damn sure, my man. So thanks so much for coming on. Lastly, where can people follow you? Obviously, Nick Portela MMA is the website that you write for, but there's a few Facebook groups that you've got as well.
Yeah, so MMA Freaks is the main one. We've got 19,000 followers. I also contribute to UFC Australia. My own page, which is only small and I've just started, is Wayne Carl MMA. We've also got Twitter, and that's Nick Patella. That's also myself. So all those platforms, you can check us out. And the last one, which is really exciting, Combat Insiders. So that's the new one. So they're all going to be merging together. So we've got our own platform, but myself, Nick Patella, and the Finnish MMA have all come together, and we've been Combat Insiders. So it's them two, and I'm contributing it, but really excited to be part of Combat Insiders, mate. So thank you. Mate, I want to touch on XFC because there's been a few fights announced, and the one that I seen was Small defending his title. Mate, I was pumped. My kids obviously bought me the XFC flights up to see you guys, and when I seen that he was on the card, I actually did a little fist pump because I haven't seen him fight live, and I rate him highly, mate. So I cannot wait.
Awesome, my man. Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Wayne Carl, there's the wrap-up. HEX 16's in the books. Coastal Combat 4 in the books. UFC 228 in the books. And, mate, I'll be talking to you very soon.
Cheers, mate.